So my name is Christy, and I really, really like books. My favorite thing about books is talking to other people about books and getting people's opinions on books and finding out what they liked and what they didn't like. And I just read a book and I really, really want to talk about it, but no one I know has read this book. So I am going to the internet to talk about it. If you've read it, give me your thoughts down below. If you haven't, and after watching this video, you want to go read it, do that, and then let me know. And then tell me your thoughts afterwards, because I have so many thoughts and opinions and feelings. And I really want to talk to people about it. The book is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. Broadbent? I think it's Broadbent. This is it. Broadbent.
Absolutely preposterous.
And I don't know. Let me know if I'm doing it wrong. I really, really like this book. I think it's wonderful. I've read a couple of Carissa Broadbent's other books. They're really, really great. I can't recommend her enough as an author. She's just a fun, easy writer to read. So I'm going to link her website down below. Please go check her out. She's so good, so talented. And so I'm going to spoil pretty much everything in this book.
Yo, that's dope. Thought you'd like to be the first to see the poster for the movie.
So if you don't want it spoiled, if you're like, no, I want an adventure, I just want a review, I'm gonna kind of review it as we go along, but this is not the video for you. Click off now. I totally get it. So if you need to mentally prep before you experience a book, I'm gonna give you the gist of it. It's gonna be great. You're gonna know what you need to know, and you're still gonna be able to enjoy the book.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
However, if you don't like spoilers, you do you. And go read this book, but don't watch this video. This book is a high fantasy romance book. Goodreads, for the first time this year, did a choice awards called Romantasy as a genre. A romance and a high fantasy. And that is exactly where this book belongs. It has lots of strong high fantasy elements, but also a really strong romance story. The two are very much intertwined. You can't really have one without the other, but it does a good job balancing both. One of the things, though, that I genuinely struggle with high fantasy books is the world building. I know a lot of people love the world building, which if you do, great, more power to you. To me, it feels a little bit like a made-up history lesson sometimes. And I want to know what's going to happen next. I don't really want to know what's already happened. I want to know what are the characters that I'm growing attached to, dealing with, what's happening to them. And I understand that you can't really appreciate what's happening to them now in the story without understanding what's happened in the past leading them up to this. But a lot of times in a long high fantasy book series, I struggle with the first book the most because there is so much world building. But one of my favorite things about this book is Carissa Broadbent manages to hide the world building under the plot. By page 40, you know what is happening in this book. You know why it's happening. You understand almost who everyone is. You understand their culture. There's just a lot, and it doesn't feel like you're taking a fake history lesson. I think she did a really good job of hiding it under the plot. I have to give you some backstory, so I'm going to give you some world building.
Let's establish what is a hypocrite.
If you want to try high fantasy, but you struggle with world building, I really recommend this book because it's just well hidden. There's only I would say 2 pages where I really felt like she was just throwing facts at me. So I'd really recommend it. So the actual world building, we are on a vampire continent. The majority, if not all, the vampires live. And there are humans on this continent, but it's run by vampires. Vampires are the rulers. Humans are very much second-class citizens. So we have vampires and we have humans. And then within this continent, there's 3 countries. They're called houses. The first continent is called the House of Shadows. We don't care about them. Bye. We don't they're not at all important. They're mentioned twice. They don't matter at all. I tried so hard. at least for this story. Then there is the House of Blood. They are kind of interesting. So there is one vampire goddess. There's other like gods and goddesses in this world, but one goddess created all the vampires. All the vampires worship this one goddess. The other gods and goddesses don't really like vampires. They don't really like this goddess. Like, they're like, vampires, this goddess, package deal. She's called Nyaxia. Nyaxia. Nyaxia.
Anti-disestablishmentarianism.
I don't know. Tell me down below. The House of Blood was her favorite house.
That's my favorite.
And she blessed them, and they were the strongest, and they were great, and they were wonderful. And then she got mad at them, and it's not super clear why she got mad at them.
What's wrong?
No.
You okay?
No.
It talks a little bit about like them bickering over more power, and she got really annoyed with them. She cursed them. And then she's like, I want nothing more to do with you. It's kind of vague what the curse is. It's revealed later. We'll go over it when we get there. But they are like considered like the lowest class of vampires in this vampire continent, because the goddess is like, oh, they suck. So just to keep it, we have the normal vampires, then we have the House of Blood vampires, and then we have humans. So that's kind of the class system we have going on. Then we have the House of Night, which is where our story takes place. It is our country, House of Night. And in the House of Night, there are two different types of vampires.
I'm Ron Burgundy?
They're the exact same. They're the exact same. The only difference is they have different wings. One has like feathered wings, and one has wings more like a bat, which is a little more like skin.
Ew.
One's called the Rashan, and one is called the Haji.
Aluminum.
There is one throne in the House of Night, but these two different types of vampires are constantly fighting to get that throne. So they both want it. Only one throne. And also there is this tattoo called the air mark. It's like this red tattoo on your neck or on your back. And basically one Haja vampire has it, and one Rashan.
A flamingo.
What is it?
A flamingo.
Has it. And that is the vampire that is like the strongest in like within each of those vampire types. And it's like a blessing from the goddess, meaning this person is supposed to rule the kingdom. But there's two, right? One throne. And so this goddess kind of likes these vampires. That she's not like a good god. It's not like she's like, oh, she's so kind. She's kind of mean. But that's okay. Whoever has this tattoo is kind of supposed to try to overthrow the current ruler. And our current ruler's name is Vincent, and he's a Haja vampire, and he has the air mark. That's what it's called, the air mark. And he got it 200 years ago, because every 200 years there is this kind of like Hunger Games competition where there's like 5 trials, and at the end of the 5 trials, whoever still survives fights to the death. And then that person gets one wish from the goddess. And Vincent won it 200 years ago. And he like asked that the other vampire's air mark become less powerful.
Suck it.
Sean.
That was his wish, and he got it granted. And so then he took power, and then he proceeded to absolutely decimate these other types of vampires, the Rashans.
Say Naomi.
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 No, mommy.
Until one day he's like out on a mission, and he sees like a 5-year-old human child. And he very much thinks humans, again, very, very much beneath him. Like 2nd class, 3rd class, 4th class citizens. Like not even really like this remotely, kind of like the way I think we would view like a, I don't know, a butterfly. not a butterfly, those are too nice, but like a bug, right? Like genuinely so, like we're not even remotely close to the same thing.
It's like looking in a mirror. No, it isn't.
And he sees this child and he immediately takes this child home with him and adopts her as his adopted daughter. And she's our main character. Her name is Oraya. And Vincent has taught her since she was like very, very, very young that vampires are dangerous and she is weak. And that the only place she's ever safe is with him. Everyone else could kill her at the drop of a hat. And that's kind of true because vampires have this thing called bloodlust, where it's not like every time they see blood, they immediately are like, oh, I'm losing control and I need to drink your blood. But there is a chance. Like, there is a chance that they just lose it and they're like, I'm now an animal and I need to drink your blood. And so he's like, that could happen at any time. So you are in constant danger. So I am the only one you can be safe with. And because of this, I'm going to train you. I'm going to train you to kill vampires. So that has been Aurora's upbringing. She is now like 23, 24. And that is when our story starts. You know how I mentioned earlier, there's like that competition that happens every 200 years? Well, it's time for that competition again. Woo! Oraya is now 23, 24, and she is going to enter it because what she wants is, there's like this type of bond that Nyaxia grants once in a while, where it's like you guys share one life force, like two beings can share one life force, like you share power, you share strength, you share all this stuff. And she wants to do that with Vincent so that she can be as strong as him. So she decides she's going to enter this tournament. And like once you enter it, you're stuck in it until you die or you win. And all the people in this competition have to stay in like this big place called the Moon Palace. And the first night is like crazy. There are like all these humans around for like these vampires to just feast on. And Oraya is like horrified at this. She is so disturbed and she's just like trying to make it out. Like she's stuck in this vampire palace, but she's trying to find like a safe place so these vampires that are like deep in bloodlust, deep like in gouging themselves on blood, don't find her and get her. And a vampire like puts his hands on her and she just stabs, and he's like, don't go there, there's vampires there that'll kill you. And she just stabs him in the leg and then like runs away. That vampire, okay, I think is Raihn. I think that's how you say it. Raihn, Raihn.
Sair Uvun Jinju Bridan.
He's the boy. So he comes into play later. He very much comes into play later.
If you know what I mean.
But she stabs him. So that's their like meet cute, is she just he's trying to save like her life and she stabs him and runs away. So she does that. They survive the first night. We're fine. And then they get to the first event. And all of them are teleported into this arena where there's a bunch of people watching and cheering and, you know, it's a spectacle. The first event essentially is like, my understanding of it is they're like separated into groups where they have like little force field bubbles. And there's like 5 or 6 contestants in each of these force field bubbles, and there's like these werewolf like monster thingies that are attacking them. They have to kill these monsters, and once they kill them, they get like teleported out of the bubble, and then they get to go back to the Moon Palace and they survive the first event. Oraya figures out how to kill them. Of course, Raihn is there, and the two of them like work together really well to kill the monster. She, however, gets injured pretty severely in this competition. So she's like, she goes off. It's daytime and vampires can't come out in the day. Like actual vampires. So she's trying to get the bleeding to stop, right? Because she's like really badly injured and she can't get it to stop. And she's worried because she's like, the vampires are going to smell this when the sun sets and they're going to come to get me. Raihn shows up. I think he's in like a cloak. So he's like protected from the sun. And he's like, yo, I'm not going to kill you right now. Calm down. And she's all like, I don't believe you. He says, the third event is always a group event. You always need at least a partner. Come partner with me. The third event, stay in my apartment that I found in this castle tonight. I will keep you safe. I also have some medicine that'll cure the cut. So like the blood will stop. So you don't have to worry about that. And she's kind of like, I don't trust you. And then there's a little bit like more back and forth where he's like, you don't really have a choice. And she's like, but I still don't trust you. And, you know, back and forth, a couple more things happen. And she originally says no, but then she agrees to come stay in his apartment and team up with him for the third event, because the third event always needs a partner. And it's very, very clear in their time together that Oraya is terrified of Raihn, like just petrified of him. He's like, I'm not gonna hurt you. You're safe here. And she's like, I've never been safe. So that's kind of back and forth. There's some like funny little quips here and there. And then it is time for the second event. Basically, they get teleported into a giant maze. They all get started at like different places. So it's not like they're teleported in the same location. So it's just Oraya by herself. Oraya.
Tomato.
Manamito.
Oraya by herself, and she's running through the maze, and there's monsters and there's other vampires and other contestants that she has to kill, and she's doing great, crushing it, doing a wonderful job, getting a little injured here, getting a little injured there, but great job. She's doing awesome. And then she gets to one part where I think it's like a big field or whatever, and there are humans chained to the wall. And it's clear that a lot of them have already been killed and feasted on by vampires, except there is a little girl. And Oraya.
Guys, there are only so many videos of people mispronouncing things on the internet. This is all I got.
Oraya's like, I can't leave this little girl. I have to go save her. So she like gets her unchained from the wall, but the little girl is like chained up in her leg. So she like has to end up like hurting her leg to get her out of the wall. And she's trying to get through this like giant field of monsters while protecting this human girl. And she's a little injured. And then naturally, of course she does, she runs into Raihn. And he like sees the little girl and immediately he's like, yeah, this is fine. We're gonna get her out together. They're fighting their way through this monster field. They're close to the end. Oraya gets so injured that she is about to pass out, but they cross the finish line and she like looks at Raihn and she's like, make sure the little girl is safe. And then she passes out. But they made it through the second event. Woohoo! And so she wakes up. Something that she does, and this is talked about earlier in the book, is she often goes to the human district where like all the humans live, and it's supposed to be safe. Like it's supposed to be a safe place for these humans. But a lot of times vampires just go in at night and kill humans and suck on their blood anyways. That's against the law, but there's no real consequences for it. So she just goes in and she kills like these rogue vampires. And so she's really frustrated. She's feeling like life is super unfair. Being a human sucks.
Everything sucks.
All this jazz. And so she, boom, kills the vampire. She goes around and starts killing vampires. And I've always had like questions about this part. Because I'm like, do like the vampires disintegrate? Like what's going on? Because she does this like a lot. And so are there just like random vampire bodies like just scattered around the human district? The book isn't super clear on how big the human district is, but it, like the way it's written leads me to believe like it's small and it's dingy and it's not really like nice. And so like, I'm like, wouldn't people start noticing like if every 2 weeks there's just like 3 or 4 vampire bodies just kind of hanging out? Like, I don't know. It's kind of vague. Questions about it, but I'm not going to look too deep into it. Anyways, moving on. So she is mad and pissed and angry. She's killing these vampires. Spectacular. We love it. And she runs into who else but Raihn. And they're like, are you mad? Are you going to get me in trouble for killing vampires? And he's like, no, let's do this together. This is how we should be training from now on. So they start training like every night. They go into the human district and kill any vampires who are preying on these humans. And no one notices. Like, again, they're killing, like, it makes it sound like multiple vampires every night. There's just, like, tons of vampires' bodies just scattering around. So they are training there, and it goes so well. They, like, it's a little awkward at first, but they start really figuring out how to work together. It's going great. Woohoo, we're awesome. And then one night, Raihn is like, let's go get a beer. So they go get a beer and they bond and it's cute. I think this is where Raihn like tells Oraya that he's a turned vampire. And that's something that can happen, but it's incredibly, incredibly risky because like most of the time the vampire who does the turning goes into bloodlust and then kills the person who is being turned. And so that's why Vincent was always like, no, we can't do that for you. We can't turn you because there's such a good chance you'll die. It's just not worth it. Also, I'm like, you're cool with her entering this competition where she has to like out-survive 60 some vampires, but you're not cool with risking her like being turned. Okay, interesting like risk analysis there. Whatever. He says that he's like a turned vampire and he was turned by like a really, really old and powerful vampire. And when he was turned, he was basically like a slave for the next 70 years. And he misses humanity like a bunch. He only got free because this old powerful vampire was like so toxic and terrible that like the world he built kind of crumbled in on himself and he got free from that. So they have like a bonding moment. It's cute. It's sweet. And they go to leave. And as they're leaving, Raihn is like carrying Oraya because he has wings. Oh, but right before they take off, he's like, you're safe. You're safe. I'm not going. You're safe.
Fires with a steal. I think a delayed steal. And he's safe.
And that is like, it's a really cool juxtaposition because Vincent has been telling her her whole life, you are not safe. And Raihn keeps saying, you are safe. So that's just kind of interesting. So they're flying to the Moon Palace.
They're breaking free.
And it blows up. Like part of it just explodes. And Vincent takes this as an attack from the like other type of vampires. He thinks they're like declaring war on him. So he's like, I am going to kill every single one of you. I'm going to kill all of you. Like, how dare you do this? And Raihn is of course one of these other types of vampires. So he gets like taken away for questioning. And it's like the night before the third trial where like the two of them are going to have to work together. And she like, Oraya goes to Vincent and is like, can you please like not break him because I need him to be okay because he's my partner. And Vincent's like agrees, but vaguely. And so when Raihn comes back, he's still super tortured. And she's like, what the heck? Vincent said he wouldn't really torture you. So she's pissed about that. The torturing is like just cutting his back a bunch, like slicing parts of his skin off his back. And so she sews up his back and he's like, I need a distraction. So they talk again a little bit about their past. I think this is when Oraya lets Raihn know that like she wants to win it to have one of those like bonds with her dad. And he's like, the fact that you think your humanity is like a weakness is one of the worst things I've ever heard. So again, they bond. It's sweet. It's cute. I'm not doing it justice. Go read the book. Go read it. It's so cute. So go read the book. I digress. Back to the story. He's hurt. He's not doing great, but he's like, okay. And he's like, do you still want to be my partner? Like you could go get another partner. And Oraya is like, no, we are a team. We work together. I agreed to be with you. And also she likes him. Let's still do this third trial together. So they do that. And this one's kind of cool. Again, it's just a field of monsters. That's the plot of this book is fighting through fields of monsters. Okay, so fields of monsters that they have to get to the other side. But the thing is that like they can now hear each other's thoughts. And also they feel each other's pain. So if one of them gets cut in the arm, the other one feels the cut. So that's the third task, and they get through it relatively well. I mean, there's some injuries. It's very action filled. I'm like skimming through this action part because of course they get through it. There's a book too. Anyways, they get through it. But one of the things that is like really revealed in this third part is that they can genuinely feel each other's emotions. And there's genuine concern. Raihn is really genuinely concerned about Oraya, and Oraya is genuinely concerned about Raihn. And this is important because there can only be one winner. And so throughout their entire relationship, they know one of them has to die. Like they both aren't making it out of this thing alive. So they're aware of that. And so in everything that's happened, they're like, wait, are you being genuine or are you trying to play me? What's going on? Because they like share this brain, they know that they've been genuine through it. They just finished the third trial. And now there's like this awkward, should we still live together? Should we not? What's going to happen? Because we no longer need each other. And they both kind of decide to still like live together and hang out. And they just like hang out and chill and like develop a lot in their relationship. And it's so freaking cute. Oh my gosh, it's honestly like my favorite little part of the book. And then they wake up in the middle of the night and they're once again in this like giant field. But there's a ton of deer and all the vampires are drinking this blood. And one vampire lunges at Oraya. She kills him because dope. And then she realizes that the blood in these deer are like poison. Like it's making the vampires sick and weak and not able to fight.
One sip.
Bad for me.
And she goes, oh shoot, Raihn is here. He's probably thirsty as well. And he's probably drinking this poison deer blood. I have to go save him. So she does. Two of them like run to a cave before the sun comes up and kills the vampires. So they're there and they're like, okay, we need to get out of this situation. Raihn's like, I am too weak to do this. And so Oraya is like, you know what? You're going to drink some of my blood. And Raihn is like, no, I'm not. And she's like, yes, you are. You need it. I need you to get through this next level. It's going to happen. It's a big deal. It's also really, really well written. And then the next morning, they like go to brave the field. Not the point. The point is they get out. So they get teleported back to the castle. So they just completed the fourth trial. So she like leaves and goes to the human district to go kill more vampires because it's what she does when she's upset. And Raihn meets her there and they kill some vampires together. And at one point in time, like it's clear because now they're in the final event, which means only one of them are making it out alive. He gives her an opportunity several times to just kill him.
Go ahead.
She doesn't. She doesn't know what she's going to do, but she doesn't kill him. They go back to their apartment in the moon castle and she's kind of like, listen, we're going to die tomorrow. Let's live tonight. And so they have a little bit of spicy time.
Let's do it. 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 Let's do it.
Such a strong relationship. It's so much fun. I can go read this book. It's so much fun. So they have a spicy time. And then it's time for the fifth and final competition. They all get teleported into it. They're each in like a room where there's like these people who symbolize like the other gods that Nyaxia doesn't like and they don't like her. So every contestant has to kill a couple of these like fake gods. Then they walk through a door and then they're all in like the same room and then they have to fight each other to the death.
I challenge you to a duel. I accept.
So of course it comes down to Oraya and Raihn and neither of them can kill each other. They just can't do it. And Raihn like gives her like a chance to kill him and she's just like she can't do it. The dagger is right there and he like forces her to do it. So kind of like that. And so then the crowds cheer, woo! And Nyaxia comes down and she's like, what is your wish? And Oraya is horrified and she says, I wish Raihn would have won the competition. And so he's brought back to life immediately. And Nyaxia goes to him and she's like, what is your wish? And he's like, Vincent asked you to like make the air mark less powerful for this other type of vampire, the Raihn. I ask that you restore the power to it. Plot twist, Raihn has the air mark.
That's a twist. That's very
very twisty.
It's just been hidden because that's what Vincent had asked for. Vincent sees this. They collide. They fight. Oraya is like, what the frick is going on? So we have the two vampires with the air marks fighting. Raihn wins. He kills Vincent. Oraya is horrified and she runs to her dad like crying and is like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And Vincent is like, nothing to apologize for. I've made a ton of mistakes. I have so many regrets, but you are not one of them. And then boom, dies. And she's like, oh my gosh, you just killed my dad. She just killed my dad. All these like Raihn vampires like storm the field and they're like, we're in charge again, let's go. And then Oraya, suddenly her skin starts to burn and she sees that she has an air mark. And an air mark like has to be passed down biologically. Essentially what happens is that reveals that Vincent was her like biological dad.
Are you my freaking dad?
So she's half vampire, half human. And Raihn has the air mark because the old powerful vampire that turned him was the old king that Vincent killed. So he's like he's a son because he turned.
Not perfect, okay? I don't use air quotes correctly, all right?
Raihn. So that's how they both have this air mark. And the vampires are like, oh, we need to now kill Oraya because she has the air mark. She's going to be powerful. And Raihn is like, nope. Actually, I'm gonna marry her. It's a cool scene. I'm kind of like cleaning it up. It's a little bit more like vulgar and harsh. It's a cool scene though, so read it. I'm gonna marry her and force her to be my wife, and that's how I'm gonna keep an eye on her. And so Oraya is like kind of just shocked. They go back to the palace, not the moon palace, the actual like castle. And oh my gosh, does Carissa do such an amazing job right now of writing a torn person's perspective. She does such a great job of being like, he killed my dad, how dare he? But also my dad kind of sucked a little and was doing some bad things. But also like, I loved my dad. But also like, I understand why Raihn did what he did. And like, Oraya is just kind of in shock, having this internal debate. So she's just kind of like vague. And Raihn and her get married, kind of against her. Kind of. Raihn takes the throne, and that's how the book ends. And it was so good. I was like, what's going to happen next? And don't worry, the sequel is out, so you can go read it, which I recommend because I read that book too. And I love that book as well. I cannot recommend this book enough. It is so much fun. There's so much I cut out. There's so much. Let me know about your thoughts down below. If I had to give this book a rating, I'd give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. Go check it out. Go check out Carissa Broadbent's other books as well. She's a whole nother series that I haven't touched. It's on my to-read list, but go check it out. It's so much fun. Again, I've said that so many times, but that's the word I'd use to describe this book is fun. It's a fun read. And that's why I read books, to have fun. So it met all my expectations and then some. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far, I'm super impressed. And thank you.